What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Bill's Vlogs. Coming to you from the shop today. I'm going to talk about the world of Outlaws. The Outlaws are in town this week/weekend, and we got a show at Lincoln coming up and two shows at the Grove. The Outlaws versus the Posse, and I just wanted to kind of come on and reminisce a little bit about some past racing experiences and maybe get a little input from my dad, raced with the Outlaws, and my brother Danny. He's an Outlaw winner. So, it's always a big deal when the Outlaws come to Pennsylvania. You got the Outlaws versus the Posse, and you got all the things that go along with that, fan-wise. And of course, you got the on-track action as well. And I've been lucky enough to race with the Outlaws several times throughout my career. I raced with them at Williams Grove already, and I raced with them at Lincoln. I don't know if I raced with them anywhere else. That they used to go to Hagerstown some, but I don't recall if I ever personally raced with them at Hagerstown, and my dad did. And then there were some other tracks over the years. I know they used to go to. I know they went to Susquehanna Speedway before, and Port Royal, Sealands Grove. I don't know. There's been other tracks as well around the area that they've came and raced here. It used to be a multiple week thing here when the Outlaws came to town. I feel like they were here for 3-4 weeks at a time. Back in the '90s, they kind of start maybe in Western PA and come in, hit Central PA, got some grease on my hand, hit Central PA, and then they would follow that up with the trips to New York, maybe even New Jersey, and then they would head back west, right around Memorial Day. I felt like they would head out either. They either head out to Indiana or maybe head south there towards Charlotte. When Charlotte had opened up down there in more recent history, they would head down to Charlotte, and then they would leave Charlotte and go somewhere else for Memorial Day weekend. But so I'm gonna go over here and get some words with my dad and my brother and get their feelings on this Outlaw rivalry and their past experiences and see what they have to say, and then I'll come back with a little more info on what I think about this whole situation, Outlaws versus the Posse, and what it's really like. So, Dad, you raced with the World of Outlaws a bunch of times over the years.
Oh, a fair amount, yeah. I usually raced with them.
How'd that go?
Not too good.
No?
Well,
Why?
I had some good runs with them, but not up front. Couldn't get the front too good.
Back then you were racing against Steve Kinzer and Sammy Swindell, Andy Hillenberg.
Well, I raced with Sammy a whole race up at New York, but he beat me at the end.
Do you remember where?
Yeah. It's where the state drops down, it goes off to the left. There's a racetrack up there. I can't remember the name of that track.
Rolling Wheels?
Yeah, it might have been it. I think.
All right, so one time you were up there, didn't you have quick time in the Cooper car?
With the Outlaws.
Yeah, I thought you had quick time up there one night with the Cooper car.
I don't know, you might be right.
So,
but I don't remember when or where.
You know,
There's just I wasn't that good with them. I just wasn't.
Yeah.
But
qualify, like time trials, you just couldn't lay down a good lap. On a regular basis.
On a regular basis, yeah, I struggled. So, but I think I raced with them all the time, actually.
Yeah, well, back then they used to come in here for more than one weekend at a time. They would come in here and go to the Grove and go to Lincoln, Hagerstown, like we just said, New York,
Yeah.
other tracks around the area.
Yeah, I had a rough time though with them. I mean, I wasn't that good.
No.
You
I
think
don't-
part of your problem was that you weren't concerned about weight of the race car as much as they were?
Oh, that's for sure.
I mean, like, I can remember you weren't worried about weight like them guys were.
So your car was heavy.
Oh, it was. I mean, like when I ran the Fords, they were automatically heavy. But then I ran Chevrolet too a lot. And then, I was pretty good with them at times, but
What made that? How much heavier was the Ford? Do you know? The actual Ford?
probably 80 pounds.
No shit.
Yeah,
Where was all the weight?
in the motor.
Yeah, but I'm saying like just
They're just big.
the block, the heads,
The whole deal.
just heavy.
Heavy. Yeah.
And what year was that? You think? What year did you run the Cooper car? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Danny, do you remember, Danny?
Oh, 89 through
90
90,
through 92, right?
93.
93?
89, I started running it.
We won the championship at Lincoln in 92, and you ended that year in the Miller Brother car, correct?
Yeah, I was running a car.
He won it back to back. So 92. What'd you say? 92.
92 and 93.
So you get out of the Cooper car, the Ford in 92. Then partway
Yeah.
through 92.
92.
You started in 90 was your first full year in the Cooper car, right? Did you run the car a couple times in 89, and then you ran it all through 90?
No, 89 I ran Cooper car, period. They bought new cars then.
Yeah. So you ran with the Outlaws. You
They
did
had brand new Maxim cars, or not
Challengers.
Maxim, Challenger.
Yeah.
That was in 89.
What year did you win 10 races?
Oh,
That was like 86.
87.
87.
Was there 87 or 89?
That was
I've been 87.
87.
87.
All right. Well, I'm doing a little video about racing with the Outlaws since the Outlaws are here this week. I just wanted to get your input on it.
Yeah, I liked racing with them, but they were hard to beat. They were hard back then too.
Still hard to beat. They're fast.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure you used to tell the story about going to New York and setting quick time somewhere up there with the Outlaws in the Cooper car, but I don't remember if it was rolling wheels or I don't know where, somewhere up there. Canandaigua, I don't know where it was, but
Yeah.
but
I probably did. I mean, I was good at times,
yeah,
but feature time, track got slick.
it's hard to beat them.
Heavy car, yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes, I just don't have the money to buy new stuff and
Yeah. Compete
compete
with them
those
guys.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Well, now we know.
Yeah, it's a whole story. Don't take long.
All right, so we heard from Dad on his outlaw experience. You have more experience than any of us. Talk about your outlaw experience, Danny. I mean, let's go back a little bit, a few years back. So let's start. Obviously, did you race with the Outlaws when you drove the family car? They didn't come. They didn't.
go to Lincoln, and we didn't race anywhere but Lincoln.
Okay.
Yeah, we only ran Port Royal once for Tuscarora 50, and we
That
knocked
wasn't-
the coal wire off leading heat race.
That wasn't an outlaw show, though, was it?
No, so I never ran a family car with the Outlaws.
And then what's it? So tell us then everything else.
So started racing with the Outlaws in 2010, and struggled, jumped the car, the Grove, and then we wanted to return to Lincoln in 2012.
That was
It
exciting.
was really cool. It was my first Outlaw win on home turf. We were really good at Lincoln that year, so kind of just put a lot of effort into getting better at Lincoln, which we only had 2 seasons underneath of us. before that with Gary. So like the third season, we won 9 races at Lincoln, and one of them was an Outlaw show. And then following year, me being me, I run my mouth a little bit.
You did?
And then we won again.
Burn the place down.
We backed it up.
Hey, I just want you to know, people like the fact that you can back up your talk.
Yeah, sometimes, most times, sometimes. But anyway, that was pretty cool. Nothing really. My favorite win with the Outlaws would have been, I would have to say probably the National Open, even though it was a makeup. It was a 25,000 win show, but it was still like pretty badass to win a National Open.
Like the money didn't really matter. I mean, it matters, but like it's the prestige.
No, they actually gave us an opportunity to race. I'll never forget Justin Lowe call and say, "Hey, I can't run National Open for 50 grand on a one-day show, but we can do it for 25." And I remember telling him, "Hey, listen, that's better than not racing it at all. Be appreciative that we can even race it for 25 grand. It could just be washed out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Be over with. Never have it that year. But one-day show for National Open, we won. And that's pretty badass. And then
Hold on here. So it was pretty badass because you didn't just win the race. You passed the best race car driver in the country at the time.
maybe ever. I mean, close to maybe ever.
Yeah.
Debate. Past Donnie Schatz.
At the Grove, which he's the shit at the Grove.
Not many people pass Donnie Schatz at the Grove. It was pretty cool. The other one I won at the Grove, we started 9th and won that one. I think it was 9th. So like coming from 9th, that was pretty special. That was 2015. We almost won 2 of them in 2015. Probably should have, but I had a restart late in the race, I think it was, or I don't know. Donnie Kreitz drove around. It wasn't even a restart. Donnie Kreitz just drove around my right rear 1 and 2 on the last lap. And I'll never forget that. At 69K has driven around me twice in previous years. Once with Donnie there and once with Lance at Port. And it sucked to run second, but he just took me to school, and I learned a lot from that to help me win the other Outlaw shows at the Grove.
Yeah. So now that we've talked about winning the races, let's just talk about actually racing with the Outlaws, the atmosphere. I saw one of your tweets about how it's kind of amped up.
Yeah, the fans are into it. Like when you go to the track, you got the fans you got to watch that don't get hit in the pit area because they don't come to any other shows. I feel like it's kind of part of it. You're from the time you go out to get heat in the engine and come into pits, it's a different feeling. You're pulled into pits for heat in the engine, and we're all aware on a regular show. But you're pulled in there and it's usually crowded. You're usually watching for people who don't really know what they're doing. So it all starts right from the get-go, or you might be signing more autographs before the show starts. It's just there's just more amperage, for the whole week. And I don't know, people I feel like really support us. I feel like we have a shot to upset them every time they come in. Now, the last couple of years we've struggled in time trials. I think we fixed that. It'd be nice to get back to where we used to be, be able to be a posse car that has a shot. The last couple of years we haven't had a shot at all. We know that. But it's just like we want to go back to kind of the way things were in 2019, which was my last win. We went to Bridgeport and set quick time, ran second to the heat race to Donnie, and then won the feat and won the dash, and then won the feature. Beat Donnie again in the feature. It's always fun when you can beat Donnie. Donnie's Don, man. He's like if he's not the king, but
he's right. He's next in line.
He's right next to the king as far as who is better. Donnie did all his winning in a sense when there was a lot more rules and a lot less innovation. There's still innovation in sprint cars, but Steve, you look back at when Steve was the king. There was innovation in motor, big innovation in engines when it comes to different combinations and heads and. I feel like he would have had more of an edge on performance where Donnie might have been a little more equal on performance on the race car and just outdrove him or schooled him by the seat of the driver.
Yeah. I actually forgot about that Bridgeport win. That was pretty cool because that was on the temporary track. I'm gonna call it temporary track, not the current Bridgeport track.
It's a hell of a race.
It was a hell of a race. Yeah. So, well, they're gonna be here this weekend. Weather looks, looks like we'll get Lincoln in, and then probably both nights.
Probably both nights, as long as the weather stays the way it is.
So, what's your mindset as a driver? Like, I mean, I understand, but tell everybody, like, when you get to the track and you walk through the gates, or better yet, maybe because that's not really maybe the time because you're dealing with other distractions at that point in time. But when, let's just say,
when I walk away from my t-shirt trailer, it's game on.
Right.
I'll go to the track, spend some time at the t-shirt trailer. I always do. Like, once I walk through the pit gate, if I'm, I do a lot of work on my car myself. So, once I get back to the trailer, it's time to get fuel settings right, do your shocks. Just kind of do everything the way you do on a normal show and just try and not be bothered. And I think that's important, that you have a clear head and you think things through correctly, just like it would be a regular week. You just got to make sure you go out and you time trial good. Don't do anything stupid. I've had a tendency the last couple years to try too hard in time trials because we had some things holding us back. So, now, the last couple shows we've time trialed for, it's been kind of easier. Especially like Friday night at the Grove, you ain't got to worry about trying to make something happen. You just got to go out and put down a good lap, like I know I can do. You just, instead of trying to make up for maybe the lack of speed that we carry, just go out and know that you got speed and just put down a solid lap.
Yeah, because let's face it, if you don't lay down a good lap, your night became a whole lot more difficult.
Yeah. The format is hard to rebound from.
Yeah. So we talked about current World of Outlaws. Let's just go back in time. What do you think before you were racing? What stuck out as a kid? Because I got stuff in my mind that I always thought was cool. When you went to the races, you saw the Outlaws, like favorite car, favorite driver, just the things back then.
I mean, like Steve Kinser, Donnie Schatz. I mean, like when I was a kid going to the Outlaw shows, they were both racing. And I always thought it was fun to watch both of them. I mean, you got the King and then you got Donnie. When I was a kid, Donnie was starting to win a lot of races at the Grove. You go there for National Open, guess who's probably going to win? Donnie Schatz. Or he's going to be right there. And that's what I remember. And then, slightly as I started racing 358s, I mean, the big thing was going there and getting a bunch of used tires, taking a truck, getting used to. I wanted to race. We didn't have a lot of money. I raced on used tires. You and Dad had kind of like a tire deal, and like I was just getting them started, so I wanted the best tires I could get. So I'd go there with the pickup truck and come home with a truckload of tires. And in the meantime, I got to meet a lot of people that were a part of race teams. I was a 16, 17-year-old kid getting to meet like all these people, and I'm sure there's a lot of crew members crew chiefs who can remember me going through the pit area and grabbing tires, and I just, that's kind of what I remember, kind of being a part of that. And, like officials let me park inside the gate, the back gate, I got a little older. Just when Dad raced, we always ran around the infield, me and some other guys, Hockley, Dustin Timmons. And that was always cool. But, realistically, just watching the races, when it comes to watching races, it was Donnie and Steve Kinser, just them two. You just watch to see what they could do.
Yeah. Well, look at you now. You're on the road racing with the Outlaws in Florida, Missouri, New York, Pennsylvania. List goes on. So, well, good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Well, that was pretty cool listening to my dad and Danny talk about their experience with the Outlaws. I can tell you, first of all, that, once my dad started talking about racing with the Outlaws for what it was like for him, I kind of remembered a couple other things that maybe went on back then. And I'll throw this one out there. I remember we were at Lincoln one night, and it was an Outlaw show, and it rained. And it rained a lot. They actually put a lot of the rigs in the outer pit area back then before the current pit area is where it is now. what they used to call the Thundercar pit area. And had to be, I think, 95. I'm thinking, because I remember he was driving the 39 car, the purple 39 car, the Taylor car. And I mean, we were there till probably 2 in the morning, easily 2 in the morning. They got the show in, which they would never do anything like that now. But that was a long night. And then some of the other races at the Grove. I remember him racing at the Grove with the Outlaws a bunch over the years. So it's neat to hear my dad talk about the Outlaws. And he definitely had quick time with the Outlaws in New York. Like I said earlier, I don't remember which track it was at, and he couldn't remember either. But so that's kind of a highlight for him. And of course, Danny races with the Outlaws quite a bit. He's had a lot of success over the years with them. I actually forgot about the Bridgeport race, and that's cool too, to be the only winner on that configuration of Bridgeport. They, I guess that was when they were transitioning or whatever they were going to do to go from the 5/8 mile track to the current track. There was a smaller track they had in the infield, and they had the Outlaws there, and Danny won that night there. I remember me and Heather and Seth, and we were all, and Chuck, we were watching the race at home on Dirt Vision. Danny was able to pull it off, so that was pretty cool to see him win that race. So I scratched myself there this morning. But, yeah, so, I'm going to circle back now to some of my experiences with the Outlaws. And I guess I'll start out by saying, growing up watching the Outlaws, kind of like Danny said, you go to the races and watch Steve Kinzer. For me, it was more along the lines of Steve and Sammy, Andy Hillenberg, Dave Blaney was a good one. Of course, you got Jack Hodenshield, and all them guys were just iconic back then. And there's way more, Danny Lasowski, but Steve won a lot of races, and so did Sammy. And I always thought that was cool. I always thought Steve was just iconic back then, and he still is today, even though he's not racing. But just to be able to watch Steve and Carl and Mark Kinzer too. Towards the end, Mark was pretty freaking awesome. When I say towards the end, right before I started driving, Mark Kinzer was really fast in that Mopar car. And I remember watching Steve kick everybody's ass in the Grove quite a few times in the Coors Light car and stuff like that. So that's some of my memories growing up. Like I said, that long night at Lincoln. But I'll fast forward a little bit to when I actually got to race with the Outlaws some, and my first time racing with the Outlaws was at the Grove, probably late 90s. I remember I was really green at racing, probably my second or third year. For whatever reason, we decided to go to the Grove one Friday night. I remember Sammy was in the channel lock car. I remember it was a down tube car, so it had to be that Stealth he ran, not that down tube Stealth, which maybe was the same year that he had his accident with the push truck at Lernerville. It probably was. So that was my first time racing with the Outlaws. Of course, I didn't qualify. I didn't make the show. I was more or less a rookie. And then fast forward several years later, when the Outlaws did make their comeback to Lincoln, like Danny said, he won the Outlaws show there for a couple years, and then eventually we decided we were going to go and participate with the Outlaws. And back then the rules were a little different. You didn't have the tethers, you didn't have the fire bottle and all that stuff you have to have now to be able to race with them. I don't even know if you had to become a member. I don't think back then you had to be a member. You just showed up and raced. But probably one of the coolest experiences I had racing with the Outlaws was at Lincoln. Started on the front row next to Steve. He was in the Bad Boy Buggies, number 11. He was on the pole of the heat, and I was starting second. He won the heat race. I think I ran second. I think I was second in the heat race, but it was just cool to start on the front row next to Steve, the best there ever was, ever will be, in my opinion, with all the stats. I know it's different times, like Danny was talking about, but to be able to start next to Steve and race with Steve Kinzer was really cool for me. And then we qualified for several shows at Lincoln. Even last year, we made the show. They did a little interview on the front stretch. The year before, when I drove Barry's car, we made the show at the Grove, both the spring and the summer nationals. I think both times we made the show. So that was cool. Now, as far as all the other stuff that goes along with the Outlaws coming to PA and the rivalry, I just think it's great. I think it's great for the fans to get into it. I also think it's cool when there's the bantering back and forth online. I know Danny seems to be a lot of times the center of that. And some of that may be, encouraged by other people, but that's okay. He enjoys it. The fans really enjoy the, getting at their 2 cents, and I think it's cool to watch. Yeah, it's just a little trip down memory lane here with the Outlaws, past, and then present with Danny and what he's got going on. We're not going to race with the Outlaws, like I said. We're just passing on it this year. So, and I look forward to seeing how everybody does. Hopefully the PA posse can make us proud and put them cars up front and beat the Outlaws. Outlaws are fast. I know we got some different cars this year. They got some new cars with the Outlaws, but even the new guys seem to be pretty fast this year too. So let me know what you think. Comment right down here what you think about the Outlaws versus the Posse. Are you a Posse fan? Are you an Outlaw fan? Maybe you don't even care. Maybe you do not want to see any of the Posse members win. Maybe you're anti-PA Posse. I know there's some people out there. I see the comments. I see the stuff on the internet, and I think it's cool. It's funny. So maybe who's your favorite driver, past and present, with the Outlaws. So by all means, let me know what you think. Just something kind of fun. I thought maybe it'd be a neat little video to put out Outlaw Week. So thanks for watching, and go Posse. Yeah, boy.